So I'm sitting here with Pete, and we are going to chat a little bit about the new single, which is coming out on March the 17th, called Can't Outrun the Truth. The background was that it was the first lockdown, so I think it was April 2020, and the Who tour had been cancelled. So you were due to go out on
In
the
the
road in
UK.
the UK and do a load of shows. And literally 2 weeks before you were about to go out, the country went into lockdown. The Who tour was cancelled. So you had sort of a summer free ahead of you, and you were sort of quite happy
I
about
was
it.
very happy. I had my studio, I had projects that were ongoing, that, building things. And we were also just recovering from a big move, a house move. So there were lots of boxes to empty. So I was quite pleased.
And where your studio is here, there was some foals. So every day you would sort of pack your little lunchbox, go up to the studio, like chat to the foals. You
Chat
were
to the
working
Foles, yeah.
on a
Who to this
project.
day, they're proper ponies now. And they remember that when I was in the studio, I used to go in every day and give them carrots and have a chat with them, and now they're like my best
Did you not
buddies.
write a song about them?
I wrote a song about
Yeah,
them.
you
Yeah,
see, so the
yeah,
foals were a
four
big thing.
foals.
So Pete was happy as Larry up in his studio every day working. We had this sort of incredible weather, and I put my back out and I was climbing the fucking walls.
You
I mean,
were.
I was just climbing the walls, and I couldn't do any creative work. I mean, obviously, we couldn't go anywhere. And I really started to think about how, difficult this period of time was going to be for so many people. So I wrote this song. I wrote lyrics, and then I sat at the piano and I wrote a song, and then I thought, oh, I really would like to record it because it's really not a bad song at all. And my singing days are long over. So I asked you. I said, will you? I had an idea for a feel that was a little bit sort of country and a bit sort of Paris, Texas. So I thought it would suit the song to have like
Not Parrot, Texas. Paris,
Paris,
Texas.
Texas. So I thought,
Parrot,
well,
Texas is a.
a bit of steel guitar or bit of lap steel and some violin. And then I thought, does Pete play the violin? And you don't really play the violin, but you're always up for a go. So Pete has got a studio in our house here, right on the top floor. I was in my white night dress with a walker, but we went up and you recorded it, and you recorded the lap steel and the violin. I thought you did a really good
Pretty
job.
much note for note what Rachel described when I started to get into it. You had said to me, this is roughly what it's about. But of course, as a composer, you're somebody that writes the notes on a piece of paper. You had the melody. I had to play exactly the notes on the violin and exactly the notes on the lap steel that you had in your head. So it was a fairly straightforward job for me. I just had to make sure that the sound was okay. Uh, the bit that followed, which was a bit of a shock, was when you wanted me to then sing the song. And I think there were a whole bunch of reasons why, but basically because I was there. But this came a bit later, didn't it?
Yeah, no, it did, because once I'd worked in Sibelius, and I should say that in the beginning I didn't really have a plan for this. I
Sibelius
just
is a
music notation.
music notation machine that's in
So I'd written some
on a
guitar
laptop.
parts and some strings and other stuff. I didn't really have a plan for it, so I just wanted you to, I was bored. You were here. You play the guitar and the violin, not badly as it turns out. So it was something to do because I was going mad. And then I asked a friend to put on some guitar, and I sent to another friend of mine who produces using sound libraries, and they put strings on, and it came out really well. And I thought, oh, it's quite a nice song, and it's got a nice feel, and it's also about something which is really relevant, and maybe I should just record a vocal.
We were on holiday, and I have studios pretty much everywhere in my life. Wherever I go, even if I go somewhere on holiday, I like to have a studio. And in the modern world, it's possible. With a laptop, just a couple of other things, you can sit at a desk and you can do a decent recording of a vocal, a decent recording of any acoustic instrument, but you can also do, a drum part and orchestral parts and stuff. You can do it all in a box. So it just so happened we were on a boat, we were in the south of France, And I had this basic equipment, which I always keep there in case I want to write a song. And Rachel said to me, I'd really like to do a vocal on this song. And I said,
Oh no, but I did sort of I planned for somebody else to sing it. So what I asked you to do was sing it as a demo.
yeah.
So I could send it to this person so that they could then sing it. Because what actually happened is that you recorded the demo, you went downstairs into your cabin and recorded it, and it was really great. And then I thought, well, this is about mental health.
I'm really,
this is
really
about,
great.
because he's really not bad at all. Got guitar and in the studio and stuff. Don't have to pay you either. I don't pay you a penny, do I? And I just thought, I don't know, maybe we should put this out. I played it to a few people. They were like, this is great. What's it about? And I was like, well, it's about this period where everyone's stuck inside and, climbing the walls and stuck with themselves. And you actually did tweak the lyrics at the end because it was a bit, it was a bit morose. And you said, listen, there's got to be some hope to this, Rachel, because otherwise everyone's just going to want to jump off the end of the pier. So you did alter the lyrics a bit at the end. But someone said, you should put this out. So I thought, it's not really what we do together. We do collaborate, but mainly on orchestral things and like serious projects. So then I remembered, and then I thought about the charity. I thought about the Teenage Cancer Trust, and I thought, well, maybe we could put the single out, and any money that it raises could go to Teen Cancer UK, and also it might raise a bit of awareness just around the difficulties that people are having. I feel like mental health has really grown in the public consciousness, especially over the 2 years in the pandemic. So that's sort of how it came about. And, Polydor, I sent it to a friend at Polydor, and he was like, it's great, we're in, we'll release this, all our royalties, everything can go to the charity.
But I think because of the charity angle and because you failed to mention that, one of the things about Teen Cancer Trust, which is this thing that Roger and I have been passionately involved in for 25, 26 years, maybe longer. Actually longer. It started in 1994. We started our first concerts. Tommy was on in the UK then that year, so it may have been 95. Maybe 95. Anyway, that year, the pandemic years were terrible for charities. There were no concerts, there were no events. And the Teen Cancer Trust had been created in order to take the money from a series of concerts at the Albert Hall every year and various other things to stimulate and create spin. People put in energy and time and donations. And that had dropped. So in a sense, the idea of doing this, which is something that has sprung out of lockdown about mental illness, but also for this particular charity, where in a sense, if you've got a scenario in which somebody in your family, a teenager, has got cancer, they're being treated, lockdown hits, and you're not allowed to go and visit them. There's a poignancy to the whole thing about the song, which I didn't realise until I sat to do the video.
Well, then it did occur to me that these feelings of isolation and being stuck inside and not being able to socialise with friends and family, is something that perhaps teenagers who are having chemotherapy or treatment for cancer is something that they go through. And I actually sent the lyrics to a young guy who is a teen cancer survivor, and I said, do you identify with this? And he said yes, very strongly. This is what it is like, and now so many people are experiencing the same thing that we have experienced. So but as we decided to put it out, I then thought, well, let's do some good artwork. And I thought, who do we know? And we had only recently become acquainted with Damien Hirst, the artist. So I just sent him an email and said, look, we're putting this single out. All the proceeds are going to the Teen Cancer charity that Pete and Roger started. And, charities are really suffering. And I know that Damien does a lot of work himself with charities that he supports. And he just immediately wrote back and went, yes, let me know what you want. People might, when they get the single, see that it's been written and produced by Charlie Pepper.
This is because you're really
which
modest.
is a knob off, because I don't know. I mean, I feel like there is a lot of sisterhood and a lot of collaboration, and things have changed a bit, but I just still don't know if the world is ready for like the rock star's wife to be writing, fucking Johnny Cash style songs and getting her husband to sing them and record them, and then I just don't know. I think but I didn't want there to be a negative
that was
spin
meant
on
to be
it.
my joke. I mean, it's a follow-on. One is pussy whipped in a sense by everybody that you work with. If you're creative, you work with the people that are closest to hand. You work opportunistically when you put, interesting artist is Bob Dylan, who, when he has a producer, gathers musicians together. They go into the studio, and Bob Dylan apparently only allows 1 or 2 takes of each song, and if it doesn't work, he dumps it. So a lot depends on the people that have been gathered, the people that he's close to, who he's with at the time, and he travels with this group of musicians and tours all the time. But it's the energy around the moment when the song arrives. And what actually happened with you and I is that you had the ideas and used me as a session musician, but also as a celebrity, and I can't see anything wrong with it.
But do you think there was a little bit of pity on your side for me, because I was climbing the walls and I was like in my dirty white nightdress and I had put my back out?
No, because you've done it with me several times before. You know that I have home studios, so I like working in a studio. So if you said to me, do you mind if I record this? You might be working on a completely different project and not want me to be involved in it at all. But we did the in the attic stuff together. That was your project. We did the touring in the attic stuff together. That was your project. I helped you make the demos for several of your creative theatrical projects. And what I always say is that I'm happy to work with everybody and anybody if they're close by, and it's what for you and I, you're really a fast worker. It's not like you say to me, let's go into the studio for 2 weeks and work on this project. We do it 2 hours later or an hour later, it's done. So you're a quick worker, so it's easy to work with you. So I enjoy it, but I enjoy working with all kinds of people, and I'm not a great collaborator with songwriting, as you know. You're a really good collaborator, so it's good. It's good for me. I learn a lot from being in a marriage with you and being involved in your creative cycle. And also the other thing is you're working on all kinds of fascinating and incredibly interesting projects, and in the middle of it to have a song that you've actually created, sung by somebody that you love and that you care about. And we do stuff together if it fits. And it fits a lot of the time. So I don't think you should worry about it.
Well, Charlie Pepper is me. I wrote the song, I produced it, I got Pete to sing on it, play it, perform it, make a music video. That's the other thing. Pete's got like an empty warehouse nearby, and I was like, I've had a great idea, Pete. Now that you've recorded it, sung it for nothing, let's make a video. And Pete was like, and we've got these friends who make videos who are just brilliant. And he said, well, if Michael and Billy do it, then okay. And we just shot this video in like an afternoon, and it was great. So it's got video, it's a good song, any money it raises is going to go to charity. The pandemic happened. We were locked down together, married, with a lot of space so we could get away from each other. I was climbing the walls. I wrote a song.
You were in pretty bad shape.
I was in really bad fucking shape.
Yeah. And it was interesting for me because I wasn't. And so there was this sense that, I'm not crazy about touring. I very much wanted to tour in the UK. We'd had a successful tour with an orchestra in America, and I was looking forward to doing this. And we managed to get one show, which is at Wembley Stadium with an orchestra. So it was great to have done that. But we had a tour lined up. And, for me, touring is about meeting friends and stuff like that. So even if we had have managed to tour in a bubble, you're not allowed to meet people, you're not allowed to talk to people. So I was kind of happy that I at least had a studio and I had a project that I've been working on for a long time, and I could go and spend some time on it. And also,
the ponies.
And I wrote a Who album, so I had a Who album ready to go. The problem was that and I had a novel coming out. The problem is that the novel came out, Age of Anxiety, the Who album came out, it was called Who, and the pandemic hit. So although I was happy that I wasn't necessarily out there on the road, I'm not crazy about it, getting a bit too old for it, I was in much, much better shape than you. I was really relaxed, happy about it. I had my fingers crossed because, like everybody, we were terrified and worried about what was happening to people around us. You know, you don't have children, but I've got 3. I've got a couple of grandchildren. You know, we care about the people around us in our families. You've got godchildren that you care about very much, several. And we could see the effect that was happening on families. And it's not to sort of say, yes, the song is going to fix this, or yes, the song is going to reflect this. But there's still a chance for a conversation about the aftermath of what happened. You know, it's at the moment, where are we now? It's sort of 4:30 on a Friday afternoon in the middle of February. There's a rumour that various versions of COVID are coming back. You know, there are incidences of people still going into hospital and being put on the note, died of COVID. It's still happening.
I think one of the things about this song as well coming out now is I feel like we drew a line. There was a line drawn, and it was like, okay, back to normal. And nobody's really talking about COVID anymore. There aren't stories in the papers. There aren't news stories. You know, there are bits and pieces here, but no one wants to talk about lockdown. No one wants to talk about those 2 years, really. Everybody wants to move on, a bit like, you know, the war. And I think for so many people, there is a long tail. I think people really, really struggled. And just because, you know, it's like, okay, it's over, let's move on. I think a lot of people are finding it really hard.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is something that it deserves to be carried in our daily life. So anyway, hope that explains what Can't Outrun the Truth is about, where it came from. It's all her fault.
My fault. He didn't get paid. I put on 1.5 stone. Can't outrun
God
the
bless.
truth. Mad as a box.